Changing your life is a journey that begins from within. Sometimes we feel stuck and unable to bring about change, but the key lies in changing our mindset. First, today let's dive into a powerful story of Mahatma Buddha that shows us how we can initiate this transformation in our lives. Once upon a time, Mahatma Buddha was traveling with his disciples and came across a small village. In that village lived a poor farmer who was always struggling with his life. Despite working hard day in and day out, he was still unhappy and miserable. Life seemed unfair, and no matter how much he tried, he could not get rid of his problems. His fields yielded little, his family was constantly in need, and his heart was filled with worry and sorrow. One day, the farmer heard that Mahatma Buddha had arrived in his village. He decided to visit Buddha, hoping for some miracle or advice that could change his unfortunate fate. When he reached where Buddha was resting, he said, "Oh great teacher, I work so hard every day, but my life is filled with nothing but suffering. I can never get ahead, no matter what I do. Please, can you tell me why my life never changes?" Buddha looked at the farmer, smiled gently, and said, "My dear friend, it is not the circumstances outside that make your life miserable, but the thoughts you nurture within your mind." The farmer looked puzzled. Buddha continued, "Come, sit here with me, and let me share a story with you." Buddha then began to tell the story of another man who had a similar life to the farmer's. This man was also a farmer, and he worked extremely hard. His hands were calloused from tilling the land, and his body was weary from labor. But, despite his efforts, his life did not improve. He was always discontented and unhappy, and he often blamed fate for his misery. One day, the man decided he had had enough. He packed up his belongings and left his village in search of a better life. He thought to himself, "If I can find a better place, my life will be better. If I can leave all of these problems behind, I will finally be happy." As the man traveled, he came across a wise monk sitting under a tree. Seeing the sadness on the man's face, the monk asked him, "Why do you look so troubled?" The man replied, "I am tired of my miserable life. I am leaving my village to find a better life elsewhere." The monk listened patiently and then said, "My dear friend, do you think you can run away from your problems by changing your location? What you do not realize is that your problems are not outside of you. They are within you. No matter where you go, your thoughts and your attitudes will follow you, and they will recreate the same circumstances. Wherever you are." The man was taken aback by the monk's words. The monk continued, "Instead of running away, change the way you look at your life. Change your thoughts, and you will change your experience. If you nurture thoughts of lack, misery, and frustration, that is what you will see in the world around you. But if you begin to cultivate thoughts of gratitude, positivity, and hope, you will find peace and happiness within, regardless of your circumstances." Third king. The farmer, listening to Buddha, began to understand what Buddha meant. All his life, he had blamed the circumstances around him for his misery. He had never realized that it was his own thoughts that were keeping him trapped in a cycle of suffering. Buddha smiled and said, "The first step to changing your life is to change your thoughts. Your thoughts are like seeds that you plant in the soil of your mind. If you plant seeds of negativity, that is what will grow. But if you plant seeds of gratitude, kindness, and positivity, you will reap a harvest of peace and joy." The farmer asked, "But how can I change my thoughts? They come to me on their own, and I do not seem to have control over them." Buddha replied, "It takes practice, just like cultivating a field. At first, you must pull out the weeds, the negative thoughts that have taken root in your mind. Then, you must nurture positive thoughts every day, just as you water the seeds you want to grow. Over time, your mind will become like a well-cultivated garden, full of peace and happiness." The farmer decided to take Buddha's advice. He went back home and started practicing gratitude every day. Instead of focusing on what was lacking, he began to appreciate what he had. Slowly, he noticed a change in his mindset. His problems did not vanish overnight, but his heart was lighter, his mind was calmer, and he began to find joy in small things. Over time, this change in his thoughts led to a change in his life. The first key to changing your life is to begin with your mind. Our thoughts are powerful. They shape our emotions, and our emotions influence our actions. If we want to change our lives, we must first change the way we think. It is not easy, and it does not happen overnight. But with persistence and practice, we can transform our inner world, which will then reflect in the outer world. Changing your thoughts is the first step, but changing your actions is what makes transformation possible. Habits play a crucial role in shaping our lives. The actions we repeat every day, whether positive or negative, become habits that define who we are and how we live. The next story of Mahatma Buddha will teach us the importance of discipline and the power of making conscious choices to change our lives. There was once a young man who was deeply troubled. He wanted to lead a good and meaningful life, but he constantly found himself falling back into old habits that brought him misery. He tried many times to change his ways, but each time he failed. Frustrated and feeling hopeless, he decided to seek help from Mahatma Buddha. When the young man met Buddha, he said, "Oh, great teacher, I want to change my life. I want to become a better person, but I feel trapped in my old habits. Every time I try to change, I end up doing the same things over and over again. What should I do to bring a real change in my life?" Buddha listened to the young man and then asked, "Have you ever seen an elephant being tamed?" The young man nodded. Buddha continued, "When an elephant is captured, it is wild and restless. It does not listen to anyone and moves according to its own will. But the trainers tie one of its legs to a strong post. The elephant tries to break free many times, but eventually it realizes that it cannot escape. Slowly, it calms down and learns to obey the trainer. The key here is not the strength of the post, but the consistency with which the elephant is kept tied." Buddha explained, "Your mind is like that wild elephant. It has been used to moving according to its own will for so long that when you try to change it, it resists. But if you create discipline in your life, if you tie your mind to a post, a practice, or a positive habit and keep it there consistently, your mind will begin to change. It will learn to become calm and focused." The young man was curious and asked, "What kind of post should I tie my mind to?" Buddha replied, "It can be anything positive, a daily practice of meditation, an act of kindness, or a commitment to learning something new. The important thing is to do it every day, without fail, even if it is for a short time. Just like the elephant that learns to be calm by being tied to the post every day, your mind will also learn new habits through consistent practice." Buddha then told the young man another story to illustrate his point. He said, "There was a gardener who wanted to grow a beautiful garden. He planted many seeds, but after a few days, he grew impatient. He dug up the seeds to see if they were growing, and in doing so, he destroyed them." The gardener did not understand that growth takes time, and it requires patience and consistent care. Buddha looked at the young man and said, "Changing your life is like growing a garden. You must plant positive seeds in your mind and nurture them every day. You may not see results immediately, but with time those seeds will grow into strong and healthy plants. You must be patient and consistent. Water the seeds of positive habits every day, and soon you will see the garden of your life bloom." The young man understood Buddha's message. He realized that his struggle to change was not because he was incapable, but because he lacked consistency. He decided to commit himself to a daily practice of meditation. He knew that it would not be easy, and there would be days when he would want to give up. But he remembered Buddha's words about the elephant and the gardener. He knew that if he could stay consistent, he could change his habits and ultimately his life. The young man began his practice with just a few minutes of meditation each morning. At first, his mind wandered, and it was difficult to stay focused. But he did not give up. Every day, he sat down to meditate, even if his mind was restless. Slowly, he began to notice a change. His mind became calmer, his thoughts more positive, and his actions more intentional. Over time, his old habits began to fade, away replaced by new, positive ones. His life transformed, not because of a sudden miracle, but because of the small, consistent actions he took.